The Crystal Morrison poll. This is a poll. If you're new to watching the live show, what I do on Wednesday nights during the show is I recap the poll from the previous episode. And what that means is when an episode comes out on Friday, the next day on Saturday morning, I will post in the Facebook and the Unfound podcast discussion group on Facebook, which is a private group. I think we have around 7,000 members in there now, which is fantastic. I have to thank every one of them. I post a poll with just to get a feel for the audience of what they thought about the disappearance. I'll ask a question and to get people's opinions. And this week, the question was, are you surprised at the resolution to Crystal Morrison's disappearance? And a large majority of you, not all of you, but maybe 85%, 90%, said that they were very surprised by the resolution in the case, that Crystal Morrison was found not too far away, or remains were found not too far away from where she was last seen, and that the conclusion is that she died of natural causes brought on by a sickness that she had at the time, and also dehydration and exposure. I, of course, am surprised by it too. However, I believe that. There is nothing that I've heard to dispute that. Crystal's family accepts it, so I accept it. But I thought an important part about doing that episode in memoriam, not just remembering her, going back and listening to that interview that I did with her sister and everything, but it was very important for me to let you all know that I realize that I got things wrong with her disappearance. I don't want anybody to think that I'm above reproach, that I can't admit when I make mistakes, that I'm this all-knowing being or anything like that. I don't want anybody to think that. I am all about solving cases. That is it. That is it. And to be able to get better at analyzing them, giving good advice, teaching people, although I'm not going to be able to do it this semester. I know certainly that next semester, in some different colleges all around, maybe from Florida to Michigan, Louisiana and elsewhere, that I'm going to be talking to people, young people, about missing persons cases. And the best way to learn anything is to first admit that you don't know something. Second of all, you also have to be able to admit when you make mistakes, and then look at those mistakes and what was it that you got wrong. And I thought that it was very important for me to tell all of you that I recognize that I assessed Crystal's disappearance wrong. And I'm telling you right now, probably not going to be the last time, unfortunately. But I wanted to do that. And because my perception is that there are a lot of true crime programs out there, both on TV and, of course, whether it's regular TV or Netflix or whatever else. And, of course, there's a ton of podcasts out there, but I don't know how many of them revisit disappearances or murders, any types of crimes, revisit them, go back over them, and then admit where they got things wrong. I don't really know of any programs that ever do that. But I think it's important to do that because Unfound is not just about myself and my assistants informing the audience about these disappearances, many of which never have been, gotten any national or international attention. It's not just us letting you know that they exist. It's also about education. It's also about trying to teach the general public about what actually goes on in disappearances. And I think to be able to do that, to be a good teacher, that you have to admit that you're human too, that you're not all knowledgeable, and and you're learning just like everybody else is regarding this. It just may be that, of course, with me, I'm doing the interviews, I'm having these conversations behind the scenes. I talk to people in law enforcement, talk to a lot of people who have been doing this a lot longer than I have, and I try to pass that knowledge on to all of you. A few days about some things. I want all of you to go to theunfoundpodcast.com. I want you to go there. I want you to click on everything. I want you to, look at everything. And we are certainly looking for feedback regarding the website. What you think about it, what you like, what you don't like, how it could be better. Do it from your phone, your tablet, your laptop, whatever it takes. And, that's what we're looking for right now, because it's going to be through your, through your help, through your comments, through your suggestions and everything, that we'll be able to make that the best true crime website out there. Once again, you have to remember, the thing is just now up and running within the last couple weeks. But I want all of you to go there, click around. You're going to see a lot of things there. And I want you to just mess around with the website and see how you like it. See if it makes sense to you. See if it's organized to you. Look at the menu across the top. Click on all those things. Do as much as you can there. And give us feedback. You can, of course, email me, unfoundpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, and you can private message me, and I will start collecting people's insights, suggestions, and we'll start looking at those points to see how we can make the website better. It's very, very important. We want the website to be as user-friendly as possible. We want to have there's a lot of information on there, so we want it to be organized. And so the only way we know it's organized is if all of you go there and tell us, yeah, it makes sense. And it may be we need to make some changes, and we'll do that. So, Carrie, see you later, Carrie. So I want you to do that. Once again, it is the new website, theunfoundpodcast.com. The other one, the old address, that's going to be getting taken down, so don't go there. New one, theunfoundpodcast.com. But that Gannon Stocks, this young boy from Colorado, his remains were found, of all places, here in Florida, up there in the Panhandle near Pensacola, just like I was talking about Kimberly Raymer, Chip Campbell, Danielle Bell, Linda K. Carroll. They all disappeared. Tiffany Daniels, we can't forget about her. I would not include her, once again, in the remains being found, because, once again, she was not a juvenile female. She was a young female in her 20s, but surely not a juvenile. But his remains were found in a suitcase. They'd been identified, and his stepmother is in custody. How did he end up in South Carolina or in Florida? Well, as myself, and I have to tell you that my assistant Cherie, Heather, Carrie, Natasha, they seem to be much more up on this disappearance than I am. But in fact, I was talking, I think it was to Carrie, about a timeline earlier today. Maybe Cherie jumped in on that as well. That if the stepmother did it, and I don't think there's much reason to doubt that it seems that she must have hidden Gannon's body for a few days. And then she jumped in a car after she did an interview, like around February 1st, and drove from Colorado to see family in South Carolina. And it would make sense, in fact, I don't even know how anybody could doubt this, that along that way is when she threw Gannon's remains out. I really don't know how else to put it. It's just so disgusting. But it seems that's what she did. She was there for, of course, she lied about his disappearance and what happened, and she said he went off to a friend's when the video said otherwise. And it seems that she killed him. I think there was beaten, stabbed, and shot, and then hid his body somewhere for a few days while all the media stuff was going on, and then got in a car saying that, the tension was too much going on. I'm just going to go spend time with family. She got in a car, drove from Colorado to South Carolina, and by way of Florida, and dumped his remains and found in a suitcase. Oh my. Yeah, he was just a child. You're right, Derek. It's just the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst. Cherie, Kansas, that's my personal theory of where she hid him. Okay, Cherie. It's so important to me, being that all of these things are so sad and tragic, whether it's Crystal Morrison's situation that happened to her or in Gannon's. I keep coming back to what can we learn from this, once again, to make sure these things don't happen again, but also to apply it to other disappearances. And, what it tells me is that these people have disappeared, whether they're younger, like a Danielle Bell, or older. Their remains could be found anywhere. Certainly, if an 11-year-old boy can disappear from Colorado, be murdered there, and his remains are found in Florida, then anything is possible in any disappearance. And that's why, it comes up at least once in a while that I'll be talking to a family or a family member about, they've gone on NamUs and looked at unidentified remains. And I always say, well, make sure that you're searching all over the United States. Make sure you're looking not just at your state or in a 3-county area or a 3-state area or within 100 miles of where your loved one disappeared. You have to look at everything because you just never know. I also tell them, a lot of times when it comes to remains that are really just bones, a lot of times they can't tell whether the person was white, Hispanic, Black, Asian, mixed race. Sometimes it's very difficult to tell that. So you can't even use that as a search criteria. But Gannon's death, murder, certainly shows us that you can never rule searching out. You can't rule anything out, at least electronically. You can't rule it out. It very well may be that somebody who disappeared in Florida, her remains could be found in Maine. Somebody who disappeared in Washington, the state of Washington, could be found in Texas. Somebody that disappeared in Arizona could be found in Michigan. Anything's possible, especially when people are going to great lengths to hide remains so they don't get caught. Now, why is it that this stepmother, this killer, drove from Colorado to South Carolina and still was not able to adequately hide Gannon's remains? Why was that? I mean, she has all this highway area anywhere, and why did it? Why was she not successful? I'm hoping we eventually find that out, but we just don't know. You would think that given all that time on the road, with a lot of different possibilities, going over a bridge, taking some exit, where there's nothing there, and you could just do so, and we know how many disappearances we cover where we think there was foul play and somebody did something to a body and was successful in hiding it, that she was, and I'm happy she wasn't successful. I'm just wondering why she wasn't successful and what can we learn from that about other disappearances that are still unsolved. Oh, Joyce, you're still there. Okay, Joyce. Cherie says the stepmother has a rental on the day disappeared in which she put 950 miles, Colorado to Kansas, then back. 2 days later, goes to Kansas on her way to Florida, picks up the suitcase. Thank you for that, Cherie. No one was looking in Florida. That's true. She thought throwing them off the Escambia River would end up in the Gulf of Mexico. Maybe. Yeah. Bad idea. That's why, when it comes to missing persons' bodies and remains, water is like one of my least likely choices. You never know what can happen in water. You never know. Remains could float to the top. Somebody could go fishing and snag on a body. There's just too many things that can happen. And I think it's been proven that when remains are found or killers lead investigators to remains, they're usually buried. That is the number one way. But I'm glad she wasn't successful. But just shows you anything is possible. All right, we're going an hour and a half now. My voice still feels pretty good, but we're about done. We're almost done here. This Friday, we are going to be covering the disappearance of Dennis Ray. He went by the name Jay, though, not Ray, but Jay Lushbough. Doesn't look like Lushbough. It's Lushbough, but it's pronounced Lushbough. Dennis Ray Jay Lushbough. He disappeared from Chanute, Kansas on August 14th, 2017. So a fairly recent case, very much like David Hardy's. And this episode is being called At Last Sight. And the reason it's called that is because this is a disappearance where we have to rely on one person's point of view and what that person saw the last time she saw Jay. Now, of course, the problem, as you will figure out very quickly in this disappearance, is that the woman who is Jay's girlfriend may have a reason for lying about his disappearance. We don't know if she is, but I think we're going to learn enough about her, their relationship, what was going on that weekend, what she has said since, to believe that maybe at least some of the details that she has told people aren't true, and her story has changed over time. Over the last 2.5 years. However, on the other hand, and being that we covered Crystal Morrison's disappearance and talked about it early in the show, on the other hand, this could be a disappearance just like Crystal's, where Jay simply walked off and died in the woods somewhere. This is one of those cases. There is a wide range of possibility, from no foul play at all, person walked off on their own, to multiple people being involved and it's foul play. Anything within those limits is going to be possible in this disappearance. I think that's what you're probably going to hear when I talked to his mother. I interviewed his mother, Cherie, for the episode. Now, there is one unique point about this, though, is that his girlfriend has tried to implicate her sister in Jay's disappearance. And you'll hear about that in the interview as well. So Dennis and his girlfriend, whose name was Alexandria, were from Iola, Kansas, but he disappeared near Chanute. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Chanute, Kansas. And I've already posted a map on the discussion in the discussion group, on the Facebook page, and on Instagram. A map kind of detailing the approximate area where they were camping and then where Dennis's van was eventually found. Because what happened was that they went camping. They were allegedly on the way home. They got into an argument. Alexandra wanted out of the van. They were very close to where her sister lives. She's just going to get out and walk there. She says she got out. Dennis drove away, never to be seen again. His van is found about 5 miles away 10 days later by a farmer who was going out into his field, and that's where the van was. It was on private property. So that's this Friday. Dennis Ray J. Lushbough disappeared from Chanute, Kansas, August 14th, 2017, and the episode is called At Last Sight. The interview is with his mother, Sherry Russell.